Welcome to Not the Andrew Marr Show. I hope everyone's having a good morning so far. We've got a very busy show, fantastic guests, and we'll start off with the newspaper review. Joining us in Brig House is John Dunn. How you doing, John?
I'm excellent, Crispin. Thank you. I watched a great Spy-Right victory yesterday, so
Who did you play?
Southend.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm pleased that was a victory for one of us. And Jackie Walker is also joining us. How you doing, Jackie?
Yeah, I am good.
Okay. Well, that's the pleasantries and the introductions made down there.
It's all downhill from now.
It's all downhill from now.
Right. So the first story is obviously the one that we talk about on the show. Different people will be talking about it different ways, but this is the ICJ verdict. This is from the Morning Star yesterday, this weekend edition. ICJ: Israel must stop genocidal acts in Gaza. However, it says underneath, but international court stopped short of calling for ceasefire in Palestine. There's quite a lot of debate about whether it's a good verdict or not, whether they should have said they're demanding a ceasefire. What's your take on it, John?
Well, as they've said, it's an interim judgment. It does take us a little bit forward, but it's an absolute fudge. You know, it throws enough corn our way to pick a little bit of positivity out of it, but it uses meaningless phrases like Israel must do all it can to prevent genocide. Well, what the hell's happening now? Carpet bombing of an entire nation, driving people, telling people to evacuate to the south, and then bombing that. It's ludicrous. And Israel's response to it has been a pure, well, piss off. We'll continue doing what we want. I mean, we have to praise South Africa, who should know a little bit about apartheid, for bringing this. But I think what's happened is, like all these so-called justice courts and things like that, they're there to serve the interests of the world capitalist class. And so, as I said, they've done just enough to throw a bit of corn our way without actually calling for a ceasefire. And unless you do that, this slaughter, as Netanyahu has said, is going to continue. And so what, that phrase, all it can, what does that mean? Do they mean they write nice messages on these bombs or shout nice things as they're mowing people down? It takes us no further forward, I think. But I do think that the pressure worldwide that we see in the mass demonstrations, the mass discontent, with establishment political classes, is starting to have an impact. And that's the way to bring about a ceasefire, to keep doing that, to not rely on politicians or courts for meaningless gesture, but to keep going and keep doing that, and for the people in Justice for Palestine and that who are protesting arms factory, and I'm pleased I've been able to be a defence witness for them. We've got to keep that sort of thing up and keep it in the public eye, because I don't know if everybody's noticed it. It's puppy dog stories and things like that are now on BBC News, and this has gradually been pushed back. And why? Because the political class have said, don't keep showing this, it's having an impact. And they're hoping that the opposition will just fizzle out and things, we'll have a mass wipe out of the Palestinians in Gaza. Israel will expand its borders, and then, hunky dory for the world ruling class.
Yeah. Thank you for that. It's an interesting take on it. And Jackie, this came out yesterday, I think. This story. Britain
Yeah.
suspends funding to UN Refugee Aid Agency. Britain has suspended its funding for the United Nations Aid Agency for Palestinian refugees after 12 of its employees were accused of participating in Hamas's October terrorist attacks on Israel. This is kind of unbelievable. It's not just Britain, but other countries. What's your take on this?
So my take on this is it's totally linked to the previous story, actually. And I don't quite agree with John on this. I think they were very upset about the outcome, and it's not quite what they wanted. And I think in many ways it was a subtle judgment. But what you do have here is the establishment striking back, and striking back hard immediately. Because what this is between 7 and 12 employees who've been accused, nothing founded at the moment, accused of being involved in the 7th of October killings. Now, actually, you've got to understand that on the background that Israel had killed in the last few weeks 124 UN workers. There's 26, probably more like 30,000 dead Palestinians, probably half of them, if not more, women and children. And this is group punishment. This is group punishment. This says, and I've seen this before very much in the Black community, if you win an inch, they will come back and take at least a mile. But it's actually worse than this, because if what you realize is that UNRWA are really, really one of the only bodies, not just keeping the Palestinians in Gaza alive, but all of Palestinian support has been withdrawn. This is actually America, the US, the UK, and all the other associated countries joining with the genocide, joining with the genocide of the Palestinians, because it's extremely clear what is going to happen to a population already starving, already actually in smithereens, having operations without anesthetics. If this is withdrawn, I mean, this is a genocidal mass punishment for having the audacity to go to an international court and claim justice. And this is how the establishment. Can I just say one more thing? Because I've put up on my webpage a link for people to donate directly to UNRWA, direct funding to UNRWA. And I absolutely plead with people to go on the UNRWA page now and actually donate for the Palestinians.
Right.
And
Okay.
I've put it up. I've actually put it in the chat now. That is the actual link.
Okay. Well, look, please, people, check out the link that Jackie's put in there. It is appalling. It is genocide, as I say. If you withdraw funds and vital supplies to people who are already eating like waste of food just to get by, I mean, really, it's just I can't believe it.
That is us now. We are doing this. Our government is now not just a passive part of the genocide, we're an active part of the genocide by this.
Yeah. And that's true. It's not about just bombing, it's about withdrawing support for people who are trying to live. John, this is in the Mail on Sunday. David Cameron has the answer to solve the Gaza crisis. I read about 3 paragraphs. I thought I'd leave it to you to have a look at the answer, because I was getting a bit tired after 3 paragraphs. What did you get from Lord Cameron, Foreign Secretary, on this?
Well, 3 paragraphs were more than enough for me when you read all this dross. I mean, this man's been on a jolly around some warm countries during colder weather, and he says nonsense. Like, he finished the week believing we could get the right way to end the fighting and even start on a viable solution to the Israel-Palestine question. what does that mean? You know, he might as well have recited a nursery rhyme. We all know there's only one viable solution, and that's equal rights for all Palestinians in a single secular state. And he talks about the tragedy of 130 Hamas hostages suffering. No mention of something like 25,000 people slaughtered in carpet bombing, most of them innocent women and children. Not that they're, you know, that they're not all innocent. And I often wonder when I read about this terrorist organization, Hamas, that who defines when an elected government is a terrorist government? We've seen it with anybody who opposes the Axis powers is suddenly either not democratic, a terrorist, or things like that. And that's just a useful tool for them to make out that we are the saints. You know, a democratic country, Britain, what a laugh. And it's pressurizing for a contact group. What's a contact group? I mean, if you want a contact group, go on Tinder or something like that. Although I've been banned from it now. And this contact group appears to be all allies of the US, friendly Arab states, the EU, the UK, and they're going to sit back and just talk like this to make it appear that they're trying to do something until Gaza is totally destroyed. And as I said before, that Israel's expanded its boundaries even further. And this man, it has to be remembered, while he's talking all this nonsense, is still pushing in his official capacity for arms sales to continue to Israel. And, you know, he talks about we might find a solution. I think in terms of the Israeli government, the only solution is a final solution for Palestine. And, you know, they want to wipe it off the map. It's ethnic cleansing, it's genocide on a grand scale. And if we take any of our politicians seriously, then, you know, we're either on something or we're living in cloud cuckoo land. As I said before, keep up the pressure. That's what's going to do it. Keep fighting, and let's keep showing solidarity with the Palestinians.
Oh, thank you, John. Jackie, the last story, I was a bit surprised that this was such a big thing. Corbynista MP accuses Israel of genocide on eve of Holocaust Memorial Day. Labour MP has provoked fury after marking Holocaust Memorial Day by calling for the Israeli military action in Gaza to be remembered as genocide. What an appalling thing to have said.
Well, you know, you're not allowed to deviate on this issue in any way at all. We know that. We've seen how this has been used in the last, 7-10 years. And they've gained so much. They're not going to give it this. I mean, I do think Kate Osamor, it's interesting that she didn't learn earlier on what trying to appease this mob was like. But let's be clear what this is about. All she did was basically say what most, I suspect, of her constituents believe, that actually it is a genocide that's going on. And this is now kind of been verified by the highest court in the world on this matter. And the people who are commenting on what's happened to her, Karen Pollock, the CEO of the Holocaust Educational Trust, who is actually an advocate for Israel. If you follow her posts recently, they've all been supporting Israel. And the Jewish labor movement. Now, this is an interesting bit of the story, because for some of you with a long memory will remember, one of the reasons that I was expelled from the Labour Party was for suggesting that actually Holocaust Memorial Day wasn't really for the non-Jewish members. It wasn't focused very much on non-Jewish, not members, not non-Jewish victims. Both the Jewish Labour Movement and the Holocaust Educational Trust have been putting out stuff for Holocaust Memorial Day, which totally excludes the 6, 7, 8 million non-Jewish victims of the Holocaust. And they're doing it blatantly now. And this is what we're getting. And it will soon be that actually, unless you only mention the groups that the establishment allow, you will be, you'll be defrocked, you will be banned, whatever will happen. There is nothing more offensive to the establishment than equating the wrong genocides with genocide. That's the point. And this is really thought speech and the thought police mad. Personally, for me, I will never allow them to do it. I won't ever commemorate the Holocaust without mentioning the groups I feel need to be mentioned. And it's not the duty of the state to police this kind of thing, and we have to resist this.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for excellent newspaper review, and I hope you have a good week and see you next week.